Hey everybody, my name is Gaul. I am doing my final oral presentation for Dr. Kanyiba's class over sport economics and the impacts that professional sports may have on society. Um, and this is with Henderson State University. I'm going to apologize in advance. Such late notice for me getting to actually come back to Arkansas from coaching in Kansas that I was unable to get an audience, unfortunately, because the only couple people that I may have been able to get are in the class, and I know it was stated that we did not want classmates in these, I'm pretty sure. So let's go ahead and move on with the research that was conducted. For an introduction, the first study and article that I looked at was by Jacina and Rothoff, and it was the impact of professional sports on local employment and county wages. Um, what was found in their article was that there was more of a redistribution of jobs and income rather than the creation of more jobs and more income. Um, they also found that there was an impact on different industries depending on the sport. What was found was that the MLB, NFL, and NBA had positive impacts on the food and clothing industries with negative impacts on the liquor and drink industries. And it was also found that the NHL had little to no significant effects on any of the different business industries in the local economies to where they exist. The second study was over public funding of professional sports stadiums and whether they are a public choice or of civic pride. And this was done by Gruthius and Johnson in 2004. Um, what they found was that there was a failure to increase income with the funding of professional sports stadiums and new arenas, and they actually found that there was a decrease in the incomes where teams existed. The other thing was the big study in their article was civic pride. Professional teams generate civic pride for their local communities and cities. Teams bring fans and they allow fans and consumers of sports to brag about their teams, hear about their teams from newspaper, TV, radio, all sorts of social media, and they get to brag about it with their friends who may be fans of other teams or live in different places. But the fact that there might be a great amount of civic pride in a community for their local franchise did not show an effect to the willingness of the taxpayers to support paying higher taxes for the funding of newer stadiums. The third study was over franchises and stadiums and whether they were a contribution to economic redistribution or economic development by Coates in 2004. What he found was that there was no evidence that supported the creation of jobs or higher incomes. Um, he also found that location of stadiums could potentially be a huge beneficial factor to the development and possible have beneficial factors for economic development instead of just redistribution of the economy. What he found was downtown stadiums could actually increase the metropolitan area's income, but he couldn't find any statistical data that referred to downtown stadiums expanding into the broader metropolitan areas and increasing their incomes as well. For my study, the statement of problem was that it is hard to accurately measure results from this study. There is a need for narrower, more specific sample sizes, and it's hard to directly measure the impact of a professional franchise because different franchises affect different business industries, and a lot of cities where there is a professional franchise or stadium, there is more than one professional sports team in that community, which is hard to measure direct impacts of these professional franchises. I think it is necessary to conduct my study because um, it'll be a smaller sample which can see a direct impact of like a specific team in a smaller community, which will help aid in further research. To start with the method, we had two hypotheses that I would like to be tested, and they were whether professional franchises and stadiums had positive impacts on their local economies, and the second one was whether they actually increased business and increased the number of jobs with income. The method of research I am conducting is with a questionnaire and interviews. It is a Likert scale questionnaire with measures of 1 to 5, 1 being not likely, 5 being very likely, with one or two open-ended questions at the end that the interviewer can ask the consumers of the participants of the study. And the participants of this study will be local business owners from the select businesses that we will be interviewing and conducting the questionnaires at, and the customers that come into these local businesses when there is games and when there is not games in season. For the procedures, it's first important for me to get approval from the HSU Review Board and show them proof of my human subjects training. And then after that, we will have the customers and business owners who will be participants of the study sign consent forms before they are before we interact with them in their interviews and questionnaires. It is important for them to understand like the liabilities and everything, and it's important for us to ensure that they know that their information will be kept safe and anonymous. After the procedures and the questionnaires and interviews have been conducted, we will have data analysis. All data will be collected and recorded in Microsoft Excel with different spreadsheets for each question, so that everything will be sorted into 10 to 15 different spreadsheets for each question, so that we can accurately measure the data that we recorded during our questionnaires and interviews. From the Excel spreadsheets, we will be able to calculate possible trends that are occurring with the existence of a professional sports team in the economy, and see if they actually do provide benefits to the local economy. There are several limitations for this study though, and we need to really acknowledge that the sports industry is very, very small compared to the overall economy. We must understand that it's very minuscule, and the effects of the sport industry are very, very minuscule compared to the effects of all the different types of businesses that are conducted in one city or one state. We must know that the sports is not a big factor when it comes to the overall effects and overall outcomes of how the economy is doing. Another limitation is that it is hard to measure direct effects, and we do need to start with smaller sample sizes, which is what my study is doing, to where we could build up to larger population sample sizes that can measure greater areas of the population to get a more accurate effect of how professional franchises and stadiums can impact the local economy. I'd like to thank you all very much, and I want to acknowledge Dr. Kanyiba and everyone who helped me get to this point in this class. And hopefully my research has been done well, and hope you all have the best. Thank you.